Hello you guys, welcome back to my channel. My name's Jenny and I am that props girl, and I am so excited because today I am doing an interview with a fellow props designer. Now her name is Megan Connelly and she is also a props designer and maker here in Newcastle, and I love all of the work that she does, and I am really thrilled to be able to interview her today. So we're going to be talking around props design, things we have in common as designers and all that jazz, and it's going to be so much fun. So if you are keen to see that, then stick around. Be sure to smash the like button, as it does let me know you are enjoying this content, and consider hitting that subscribe button and bell so that you don't miss a single one of my uploads, and it also really helps me to grow on the platform. And with all of that said and done, let's jump straight into this interview. I'm just going to dive straight in. So I know you were just doing a tally, but how many shows have you actually done props for?
So I think I have worked on about 14 shows all up. So, and that's in different capacities, like so assisting other people and then taking it on as props master myself.
Cool. And like, when did you start? Like,
so I started when I was actually in a show. So I was in a production of Mary Poppins. And way back at the first rehearsal, I think the director was talking about the need for like toys and things for the nursery, and I was like, oh, I can make toys, like I can knit, I can do this, like you know, that sort of stuff. And then I thought about it, and I was like, Mary Poppins bag. I want to make Mary Poppins bag. And so that's kind of what got me inspired. I asked the director, I was like, can I please do it? And without, you know, I've got no prior knowledge, she just said, yeah, sure, go ahead. And I did it. So and that kind of made me fall in love.
So were you a crafty person before you did
Definitely. So always been creative, like all the way through high school, trying different things, and just always liked painting, drawing, that sort of thing.
Cool. I think most people who end up in props are that way minded in some capacity. You said you work with people, so have you done any like training, or is it just on the job sort of learning?
No formal training. Definitely the first couple of shows that I did for, like with props, was in an assistant role, so I had great role models, but were really good guiding. You know, if I had an idea and wasn't quite sure how to work it, they'd step in and say, oh, we'll try this. And so definitely learnt a lot from them in the first couple of shows. And I'm the same. I mean, because I started like in school, and so we had like a head of props that I sort of like learnt from, and she taught me so much, even just in like sourcing props, because I think it is a skill. Definitely.
What has been your absolute favourite show to do props for? Or a couple of shows if it's too hard.
I think my favourite show was Rock of Ages. Like it was big for props. Like I had a very long list, but they were fun. And like, cause it was set in the 80s, you know, it was great fun trying to source those like vintage items. The set in particular, cause I also did the set dressing. You know, looking for old posters and like bar signs and things. It was a lot of fun. Plus the cast was great, and it's one of those shows that you're standing backstage and you're, you know, bopping and rocking along to all the songs. And it was just really nice to be on, like, because a lot of the times with my props, I'm not always there for the shows. That one I was there every night singing the songs backstage while I was handing out, you know, glitter guns and things like that.
I saw the show. The grandeur of the size of the set, how it was enclosed to the stage, and the amount of set dressing that you had to do, because like props and set dressing go hand in hand. Obviously that was in a different era. I was talking about the 80s. Like, was it hard to source things for that time?
Some of the posters I definitely had to like make up. You know, I found images online from magazines and then take them to Officeworks, blow them up, you know, that kind of thing, because I couldn't quite find exactly what I was looking for. Because obviously for Rock of Ages the setting was like that dingy bar, so it kind of had to be a certain look. But then I have a really great support network in my mum, so she actually helps me a lot when I get my list and how I actually work out what I'm doing. So she's really good. She's always on like Facebook Marketplace for me, or like on websites going, oh, you could use this, or oh, what about this? I found this. So, you know, she's actually tracked down some harder to get props over the years. So,
So what's been the hardest or the trickiest show you've had to do props for?
Puffs. Puffs.
Yeah.
Only because I was the production designer for that show. So I was
Okay.
in charge of costumes, set, and props.
Yeah.
So it was a lot. And being a show set in a magical school, there's a lot of props that I couldn't just find on shelves. I had to make them myself.
Yeah.
Same as the costumes. Like, I had mum sewing, all night getting these things done because we couldn't just go to Target or whatever and pick them up. So that was definitely hard. There was a few last minute props that were added as well.
Yeah.
So that was kind of I was in the theatre finishing off some bits and pieces and then, okay, Dementors. We need Dementors.
Yeah.
How am I going to make Dementors? And
Yeah.
thankfully having that split second of, all right, pool noodles, a bit of cloth and a fishing line, done.
Yeah.
But it's those kind of things that make shows like that hard. So yeah.
But I think that's one of the things. Like, pool noodles are so underestimated for one thing.
Yeah.
But I think also sometimes props can be that simple and really effective because, again, I saw puffs and as an audience member, I remember seeing the Dementors and I remember talking to you about it. Be like, how? Because they looked so good, but you add all the effects of lighting and smoke and all that sort of stuff, and it was just the fabric had that little bit of a shimmer to it, sparkle to it, and it was just enough.
Fun fact, that actually used to be a dress that my mum made me for another show that I needed, this 50s prom dress.
Oh my gosh!
And I was like, I need black fabric, quick! Grabbed it out of the cupboard, cut over it.
Mum didn't mind.
Mum didn't mind.
Okay, good. Oh, that's such a good. It's recycling.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Good for the environment. What do you think the best thing is about working in the props department?
I mean, I love being creative.
Yeah.
And so having that outlet is fantastic.
Yeah.
I love seeing the audience's reactions to the props and everything. I definitely had a great moment in Spamalot where there's a little bit of a banter going between the English and the French, and a cow comes out of nowhere. It was the most ridiculous prop ever. It was made out of pillows, this gigantic cow, but the laugh that the audience gave was just so rewarding.
Yeah.
And then, as I mentioned before, I get to work with my mum. It's something that we actually spend a lot of time together doing. It's kind of our activity that we do.
Yeah, cool.
She loves getting involved because once she kind of slowed down with her work, she was looking for something to do. So, it's a nice bonding moment for us as well. So that is also a really big reason why I love doing props.
Yeah, that's really special, actually.
Yeah.
Again, audience members spend a lot. But I think, as you were saying, the laughter of the audience, reacting to that prop, it is rewarding.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting there cackling with laughter because it was a surprise because it was thrown over the top of the audience.
Yeah.
And, oh man. But yes, was that a last minute thing or did you know about that one?
No, we knew about that one, but it was one of those ones where it's we need a gigantic cow. How are we going to do a gigantic cow? And I looked at inflatables, I looked at plush, looked at all the different options.
Yeah.
And again, it was looking around that house and going, what have I got? And I had these pillows. So I was yep, pillowcases, we'll just stuff the legs. It'll look ridiculous, but for a show like Spamalot, it can be. So.
Oh, yeah, and it's hands down one of my favourite shows. What's the worst thing about our department or doing props?
I think, personally, the worst thing about doing props, I'm a perfectionist.
Yeah.
And so I find it really, really hard to manage my expectations of what I want something to look like versus maybe what the director wants to look like. So I definitely find that balance hard.
Yeah.
And then I think as well the timeline that you get given of what's expected, because there are some shows where my last one, a month to do a lot of props. It was a prop heavy show.
Yeah.
And again, one of those things that it was set in a certain decade, couldn't just pick things up at the shops. So that timeline can sometimes be a bit tricky as well. And again, managing those expectations.
As a perfectionist as well, I understand dilemma there.
Yeah, and the late nights as well. Like, there's been some times where I have been up, for puffs. Mum and I were sewing cloaks all night, like till 3 a.m, doing that sort of thing like that. And that gets draining when you do it, multiple times. Like, obviously that was a choice. No one was, cracking the whip saying, get these done. But I was just like, I had my own timeline of when I needed things to be done. So I was like, if I don't get this done, let's get in there, let's stay up, let's, get pizza, let's, do all that sort of thing.
Do you think props gets enough recognition, or does it sometimes go unnoticed in terms of, like, I guess, credit or whatnot, or within shows?
I, definitely, I want to start saying I always get thanked.
Yeah.
Always get thanked.
Yeah.
I always get lovely personal messages from the director or like the producers. Always reach out and say thank you. I find though props, unless you're doing something else as well, you tend to get forgotten about.
Yes.
Because I think you take your work away from the rehearsal venue.
Yeah.
You do a lot of the work behind the scenes where people don't see the effort that you've put in.
Yeah.
And so then when you just arrive and it's all magic, it's like, oh, great. But it often is forgotten about. But as I said, definitely, I still feel valued. If I didn't feel valued, I wouldn't go back.
Yeah, that's very fair.
I work for the same company, basically, every single time I do props because I love working with them.
Yeah.
They always treat me so kindly. And when I'm there, when I'm actually in the rehearsal space, they are happy to see me and, it's, old friends catching up all the time.
Yeah.
And that's what I enjoy and why I keep going back. I think as well, because you said before, set dressing and props usually goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
And I think that people don't realize the difference in effort between the two though.
Yeah.
A set dressing is a big job.
Yes.
But then sometimes props is it's worse.
Yes.
There's so much more to do because it's all fiddly
Yes.
and really, sometimes it's backbreaking work because you're hunched over these things trying to do minuscule scaled things, and it is hard work. If you saw the list that I had and what I did and how detailed those props were, but because props as well, they're on for 5 seconds.
Yeah.
And the audience, you get a laugh, but they don't actually get to see how detailed that they are, because that is it's one of the biggest compliments that I'll always keep with me. A producer said to me, the reason why we keep getting you back is because your props are so high quality and so well detailed, which I thought was great.
Yeah.
Because I could cop out and I could go, well, the audience only sees this much of it, so I'll only paint this much of it, whereas head to toe, fully detailed every single time. So
yeah, no, I'm fairly similar. And I remember walking backstage on Jersey Boys, and I remember looking at your sound desk, and I was just no, but I was with someone and they were oh, the audience isn't going to see it. I'm so what? The actors are going to see it, and they need to feel like they're really there, and I feel like it helps them.
That sound desk, because I was how am I don't have the budget to get this sort of thing, because there was a lot of musical instruments and just equipment that I'm I don't have the budget for this. So thankfully they went somewhere else for the musical instruments and hired those.
Good.
But when it came to the sound desk and things like that, it was what can we do? Wood. Little dowels that we cut in half and we stuck them on, and because we're just it just needs to look like it from far away. It doesn't have to be perfect. And then when I saw where it was put, I was oh.
Maybe the dress,
but that's fine. They can pretend that they're turning the dials and adjusting the sound levels. It's fine. But I have to admit, I did do one dodgy prop on that show, and it was the desk microphone.
Oh yeah.
So next to the, because again they needed this specific style of microphone, And I'm like, how am I going to do a 1960s microphone? And I went to Bunnings and I got plumbing supplies and stuck them all together and then spray painted it. And then got a bit of the fake wire, like the cord, and stuck that out the end. And I was like, well, that'll do. Dodgiest thing I've ever done.
Yeah.
All held together with hot glue.
But it takes you back to chairs, which obviously you were in.
Yeah.
But the boom mic that we had, that was literally like a roller. Because it was a paint roller that had dried out. This will do.
Exactly. But do you know what? I didn't know that. Even being in the show, I didn't know that.
No, it looked fine. When you get asked to do props for a show and you're given a list, usually, what's sort of like your process in terms of sourcing and a rough timeline? Like in a nice time when you actually get the props list at the start of the rehearsal period. Like say it's a musical, you got 3 months or so. What sort of timeline are we looking at? And
well, thankfully the people that I work with, usually they are so organised and they will have that prop list for me like as soon as I have that first meeting with them.
Yeah.
So thankfully that's really good, and that's usually right at the beginning of the rehearsal period.
Yeah.
It was only the last one that was a bit different because we had a change of director, a whole change of direction, like they went a completely different way with the show, that it got scrapped and then redone.
Yeah.
So normally, get it straight up. I like to write everything out again, so I'm very paper based too. Like I hate computers. So they give it to me in this like type thing. I'm like, nah, go back to my book with my pen.
Yes.
And I break it up into 3 categories. So I do make, I do have, and source.
Okay.
So what have I got to actually put together, arts and crafts? What have I got already in my storage, and then what do I actually have to go and buy?
Yeah.
And then, like I said before, my mum's great. I always say she should have been an engineer because the way her brain works is completely opposite to mine. Like I will have an idea of, I want it to look like this, but I don't know how mechanically it's going to work. An example of that, when I did Addams Family, we needed a lever for Pugsley to get, his torture chamber thing happening. And she was like, if we put a nail here and we, screw in this and the lever will do this. And I'm like, it doesn't make sense. Do it. You do it. So she's really great at like taking control of the things that need to be made.
Yeah.
If I can't work out how things need to be actually put together. And she's also great at, she'll just, if I give her a list and say, this is what I want, this is where you get it from, she'll just go out and get it for me. So she's a hard worker. I love my mum.
My dad's very similar, just to jump back to what you were saying before, like about bonding with your mum. I guess I get to bond with my dad because he's like got that engineering sort of brain, and so he did all the mechanics for the Rose and Beauty and the Beast, and I just made it look pretty.
Yeah, that's one thing, like, I always make sure if I work on any show, like, in the thanks, please put my mum down because she's pretty much, like, as big a, I mean, I wouldn't say she's a props designer, but she's a props sourcer. Yeah. Because, she's, like, she'll drive to Sydney for me and get things and, even if it's, like, one thing and then we end up don't even using it, like, she's a gem. So basically, I break it down into that list. We go out and get it. Generally, I will try and get all the made stuff first. Like get that done first, sorry. Because I know that that's what's going to take the biggest amount of time. In Puffs, I actually had craft days where I invited friends over. And I was like, we need to like paint books and add glitter to things. And we had to make hand puppets. And so I was like, let's just have a craft day. Everyone come over. I've got all the stuff. This is what it needs to look like. And it was a nice, fun, again, bonding moment with friends. Like every show's different in how I tackle it. Like, I mean, there's been shows where I haven't had to make a single thing. I've just had to go out and source. And I've got a few, like, key places that I go around town, always go there first. And then if I can't get it from there, then I'll go to the shops. Because I do like to reuse, recycle as much as possible. Hate buying brand new.
I know.
So if I can, I will, definitely source it elsewhere.
And there's so much in op shops that people just don't realise is there. Like majority of the stuff that I ended up putting in the kitchen for Jurassic was just all from op shops. Just going, it's from the 80s. People don't want them anymore. I'm like, I would like them, please.
Do you know what? Curbside pickups.
Oh wow! Yes.
That's like I actually for Rock of Ages, because
Yeah.
I had to do a lot of like bottles and things like that. I
Yeah.
put calls out to people and was like, hey, you're throwing out all your, like, it's just been Christmas, give me all your bottles, like, you know, all that
Yeah.
sort of thing.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, stalking the council websites for when the curbside pickups are going to be, because I know that I need like a bedside table, or I need something like that. I don't want to go and pay the money, because again, our budgets aren't large for prop making. And especially when you're combining that with set pieces as well, like it definitely stretches over a lot. So I definitely try and keep things as minimal as possible.
Yeah.
Hey you guys, so this is a completely different day, and I realized when I was editing this video that it is really, really long, and so I'm going to split it into 2 parts for you. So we're going to end the first part here. Hit the like button if you did enjoy this video, and subscribe so that you don't miss the next one, and I'll see you then. Bye.